So good morning, friends. So today the Hindu 19th of June 2021. We have to do analysis, right? So first the main news. We have to analyze and we have to focus the main news. What is the current news today? So Supreme Court refuses to intervene in the High Court ruling on the students activist bill. So that is somehow it is not important on the point of view. Twitter grilled why that's important by the MPs over the violation of the new IT rules. So nowadays, the what is the Twitter is doing? A Twitter somehow the violating the Indians IT rules. So it's a matter of talk in the parliament that why the Twitter is breaking the IT rules by the time it has also informed that it should not violate our IT rules if it has to establish its setup in India, right? So if it violates, then India government will charge some penalties to Twitter, right? So this is the thing. So buzz about the center's possible meeting with the Jammu Kashmir, that's not important. Okay. Which of COVID-19 norms is in the market will hasten the third wave? So see, this is the market is a it is a very busy street, and so if something will happen in this like this, then we cannot cover the third wave when the third wave, because it is the time the third wave will come. So when the third wave will come, if this should not be maintained the social distancing, then it will be very heavy for the India to recalculate the third wave, right? So 127 people the fine for the was for the not adhering to the COVID-19. That's not important. Pandemic part of the draft master plan 2041. Okay, Delhi government time to June 30 to operationalize e-post in the ration shop. That is also not important. Okay. Delhi Ghaziabad Meerut RRTS to go other contracts taking. That is not important one. Center helping the government to sounds treatment in the OZ. Okay. NGO slams a job clause in the market and reopening order in the Meghalaya. Punjab government has important stringent guidelines to curb illegal mining. So there are some the illegal mining in the Punjab government. So to avoid this, and the stringent means tight. Okay, that's very stringent. That's tight guidelines. It is very strict guidelines. Stringent means strict guidelines. To curb means to remove illegal mining, right? So that is not important one. And the OPSC or UPSC point of view, Odisha prepares for 1500 Delhi pediatric cases, right? So in the third wave, it is probably said that it will affect the children. On the most cases, it is so. Odisha government prepares the 1500 Delhi pediatric cases, right? So Odisha government has directed all the district headquarters and the sub-divisional hospitals to mark at least 10 isolation beds as the pediatric cases facilities, right? So after that, we'll switch over. MLC says the Karnataka leadership. That's not important one. So okay, that is important. Lift restrictions on the MGNREGS works in the rural areas. What is this? This is the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. Works is on the rural areas, and while affirming that the state government orders had weakened the flagship employment venture during the COVID-19 pandemic. So due to the COVID-19, these the worker are hopeless, right? This is the thing. Only 18.8 lakhs got work this year in Rajasthan, said the civil society groups. So due to this pandemic, this is all happened, right? So this is important topic and editorial. We have to analyze it. So what needs to be done with the vaccine? Very important. So the vaccine, there is a vaccine, and we have to, everybody should be vaccinated. So policy approaches must strike a balance between the achievement of the health goals and exigencies of the supply constraints, right? Exigencies means that required in a particular situation. Exigency means the required. When the situation requires something, then we have to do this. That is the exigencies, right? So this is the thing, exigencies. Then, so policy approach must strike a balance between the achievement of health goals and exigencies applied. So what is the requirement that policymakers should think about that? This is the thing. So what is the thing? The vaccine have proven to be effective against the SARS-CoV-2 virus in the preventing the serious illness and death in the article published in the Natural Medicine on June 9. Okay. So what it is said? It is said that the vaccine has been proved to be very effective on the SARS-CoV-2 against the COVID-19 virus. So what is the data? Vaccine data is that AstraZeneca versus the COVID shield had an effectiveness of 71% and after one dose and 92% after the two doses in protecting from the hospitalization and due to the Delta variant. Delta means the Indian variant, right? So in the first report of the vaccine effectiveness from India and researchers from the Christian Medical College Vellore is that, okay, that is the Christian Research Medical College Vellore, and that proves that the AstraZeneca the Covishield vaccine is working 71% after the first dose of vaccination, and the second dose of vaccination it works 92%, right? So the protective effect of the vaccination was 92% against the need for oxygen, and 94%, this is the Vellore study, right? 94% against the need of intensive care ICU, right? Only 10%, that's important one, only 10% of those who had received one or two doses were infected, right? So this is the data of the Vellore Hospital. And more detailed, right? More detailed studies on the whether the vaccine are continuing to work, and if yes, for how long, or against the new variant. So this should that should be the matter of talk nowadays. The more detailed study required. What the vaccine are continuing to work for how many days? What is the time limit? If one man is got vaccinated for the first time, then how long time or against the new variants and will continue to be needed. Okay. So how long time it will affect, that vaccination will affect for how many time or how much time. Okay, so we also need to consider what we expect from vaccines at the different stages of the pandemic. Okay, so it is safe and provide the protection from the disease and death. At least it can save you from the death, right? So in the time of urgent need and the short supply, a clear measurable goal is essential. So the government should think about that, and that the prioritization and the delivery strategy needs to align with the goal to achieve the maximum impact. Okay, that should be prioritization, because the 120 crore 130 crore people should be vaccinated, and okay, so the government should make a plan, a prioritized plan to and it should be very effective. Okay, from the root level, from the village level to the city level, right? So on the herd immunity, what it is said, when the vaccine seem to be somewhere in the future, and with no predictability on timing or supply. Discussion on the pandemic focused on the herd immunity and the percentage of the population that needs to be infected or the vaccinated in order to slow the spread of infection. The Swadeshi strategy of the limited restriction and the Great Barrington Declaration, right? Okay. Then the long and short-term goals. What should be your goal? The control of infection in the population. The control of infection population is the long-term goal. So the long-term goal is that how to control the infection of the mass population. Then the short-term goal is that to protect the individual at the high risk and to save the lives. Those are in high risk, we have to save their lives. Okay, this should be the short-term goal nowadays. The death from the COVID-19, so the clearly that those who are the oldest are the greatest risk. So oldest are the greatest risk. So in these measures, severe disease and mortality with a distinct stratification of the severity by the age and followed by those who are with the comorbidities and such as diabetes mellitus and hypertension, etc. So these people, sir, should be very in the greatest risk, right? So this should be the strategy. This was indeed the strategy that was initially implemented in India, but opening the as tires and has not kept pace with the supply. The government has not revealed a clear roadmap for availability of the vaccine and their supply to individual states. So this should be the government should focus the clear roadmap to sell or supply the vaccine to the each individual of the state government. Okay, so this should be the prioritized work of the central government, and each state government also should conscious about that, and they have to make a memorandum of understanding with the central government. Then how this supply will be rapid and how it will be very fast. How the vaccination throughout the state throughout India should be very fast, and that should be the main prioritization of the Indian government as well as the central government as well as the state government. So to move forward, and we must accept that it is extremely unlikely that we will achieve the goal of the vaccinating every adult by the end of 2020. So this expectation is that 2021 at the end, it is the goal will be achieved and everybody should vaccinated, right? So on the western the population pyramid data, we can extrapolate. What is the extrapolate? Extrapolate means to predict by projecting, okay, or to predict that there are about 360 million above the age group of 45 years. And even though recent data from the United Kingdom and with the Delta variant indicates a slightly lower effectiveness against the severe disease requiring hospitalization, right? So what is the rural focus? The final prioritization and approach should be modeled before the policy is made and implemented, but for the delivery, rural focus is the key, and we must take the vaccine to every village and building on the experience of the pulse polio. So we have to set the role model of the pulse polio vaccination, right? So it is here the author is saying that we have to see the role model of the pulse polio vaccination. So conducting the elections, however we are conducting the election from the root level, that should be the prioritization of the vaccination in India. And if we apply this policy, the pulse polio vaccination or Indian government that is the election conducting system, then we can do the best approach. We can do the best approach in the COVID-19 vaccination. Community leaders should be empowered with the information and the tools to broadcast them. So community leaders should be empowered, right? Sarpanch and ward members. So this is the leadership. This will be empowered with the information and the tools to broadcast the message that the vaccine saves the lives. Okay, so this is the main motto should be the vaccine to vaccinate every people and every individual, whether it may be the rural community, whether it may be the city level community, right? Rural to the urban community, right? So they should know aware about the co-in application. Somehow the people are not aware about the co-in application. So this leadership, the community leaders should understand this thing. And in the social media, so in the social media, that also helps the persons to know about the co-in application, right? Okay, evidence of the models and good data. As more vaccine becomes available, the vaccination policy must be adapted and quickly to changing the circumstances, and we must generate the evidence and develop the models to design the appropriate vaccination strategy for the younger population. So younger populations are vaccinated, and so for that we have to use the appropriate strategies like the pulse polio, right? For the age group of 18 to 44. Finally, the government must trust the citizen and share the information that is solely available to it, and a notable aspect of the pandemic is the absence of the credible data and from the government, and this has led to speculative ideas and based on the poorly understood information and misinformation. The management of the pandemic has been severely impacted by this lack of granular and interpretable actionable data, and we need to restore the society to normalcy and good data, and the ability to measure what matters is the key. So basically we have to focus the vaccination, right? We have to focus the vaccination in a proper way and in a proper dilemma and in a proper memorandum of understanding, and that should be our main focus because this is the pandemic situation and we have to overcome it. So how we have to overcome, the main key is the vaccination. So from the rural to the urban level, vaccination should be the key, right? So how we can vaccinate? We can vaccinate, first of all the vaccination requirements should be there and it should be available by the government of India in the proper time, and the coordination between the center and state is very important. If coordination is good, then also the vaccination will be very smooth. Okay, so the center and the states relationship should be good, and the center and states should coordinate to supply or to make a understanding memorandum of understanding of the how to vaccinate easily and successfully, right? So this should be our main aim. So this was the editorial page. Then a village, that's not important one. Witness from the Western violence case, that's not important. TMC 6, the transfer of the Mamta's play of the Nandigram poll result, that is not important. So this is also not important. Okay, this is not important one. Third wave may hit by October, that's important. By October it may hit. COVID-19 numbers down but cannot be lowered, card Paul, right? Dr. Vika Paul. Okay, this is not important one. So again we see the the world conservative cleric tripped to win as the Iran votes in the presidential poll. Okay, Iranian vote on the Friday and is the president's election, and in which the conservative cleric Ibrahim Rias is seen as all but certain to coast to the victory after all the serious rivals were back from the running. So so he is the Ibrahim Raisi, a presidential candidate, and waving also is the presidential candidate. After that, after the poll completed, then who will be the president of Iran? It will be Iran. The capital is Tehran, right? What led to the Biden-Putin summit? So that is an important thing. Unlike the past, and the focus of the US President's Europe visit was on China, right? 2021, Joe Biden of the then the vice president in the Obama government, then that was the vice president was Joe Biden, and visited Russian Prime Minister Vladimir Putin. Russia capital is Moscow, and in the Kremlin. Inside the Mr. Putin's office, and Mr. Biden held his hand at a few inches and from his nose, and he recalled later the conversation and with journalist and Evan Ossens, and I said, Mr. Prime Minister, I am looking into your eyes, and I don't think you have a soul. Okay, Joe Biden met Vladimir Putin in Geneva on 16th June 2021. That's a convention that Joe Biden, the president of United States of America, and meets the Putin, the president of Russia, right? That is US spends $3.2 billion to develop the treatments for the COVID-19. Very good. So this is the Anthony Fauci, its plans to prepare for the pandemic threats. The United States has announced that it will spend $3.2 billion on the developing the antiviral treatment for the COVID-19 and prepare for other pandemic threats. Okay. So Anthony Fauci, medical advisor to the US president. So he is the medical advisor to the US president, said that on Tuesday when he described the program and called the antiviral program for the pandemic. So right, so Anthony Fauci is the who is the man is Fauci the presidential to advisor. He's the Fauci the medical advisor, right? Medical advisor to the president, right? So it is important Turkey to secure the Kabul airport. Okay. Sri Lanka to seek India's help to treat the COVID-19 affected. Okay, affected. So COVID-19 is affected a long way in the Sri Lanka. So it seeks the neighbors India's help. Okay. So this is important one. That's not important. That is expectation drop, manufacturing drop. So in the pandemic, RBI June industrial outlook and survey points to adverse economic condition. Okay, so due to manufacturing expectation drop. Okay. That's not important one. That is not important. Okay, that's over. So goodbye, and if you like this, then please subscribe my channel. Okay.